It's late. Maybe you're sitting on the couch, half watching something you've already seen, and your dog climbs up next to you. Not to curl up, not to sleep, just to lick your hand. Slowly, deliberately, the same spot, over and over, like they're trying to tell you something in a language just slightly out of reach. And you smile, maybe pull your hand away, maybe say, okay, I love you too, because that's what everyone assumes this is. Affection, a sloppy, warm, slightly gross expression of love. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. What your dog is doing right now, that quiet, rhythmic licking, is one of the most complex expressions of emotional regulation, social communication, and evolutionary bonding in the entire animal kingdom. And most owners have absolutely no idea. Let's start with the affection theory, because it sounds completely reasonable. Your dog licks you because they love you. Simple, sweet, done. But here's the problem. If licking were purely about expressing love, we'd expect dogs to do it randomly, freely, joyfully. The way a tail wag or a full body wiggle happens when you walk through the front door. But that's not what researchers actually observe. Licking is targeted. It's repetitive. It often happens in specific contexts. When you're stressed, when there's tension in the room, when a stranger just left, when you've been crying. And here's the question that should stop you cold. Your dog has other ways to be near you. They can rest their chin on your knee. They can press against your side. They can follow you from room to room. They have an entire vocabulary of closeness available to them. So why licking? Why this behavior, and why now? The answer isn't affection. Or rather, it's not just affection. What your dog is doing when they lick you is something far older, far more layered, and far more intentional than a simple, I love you. They are sending a signal. And once you understand what that signal actually means, you will never look at your dog the same way again. In 2017, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna conducted a landmark study on dog-to-human licking behavior, specifically examining when dogs initiated licking and what was happening in the owner's body and behavior at the time. What they found was extraordinary. Dogs were significantly more likely to initiate licking when their owners showed subtle signs of emotional distress. Not obvious crying, not dramatic upset, but the micro signals humans don't even realize they're broadcasting. A slight tension in the jaw, a change in breathing pattern, an elevated cortisol signature detectable through skin. Your dog is reading you constantly, and licking is one of their primary responses to what they read. But domestic dogs didn't just inherit that behavior and point it at wolves. They redirected it across thousands of years of co-evolution toward us. When your dog licks you, they are performing what animal behaviorists now recognize as one of the most fundamental behaviors in canine attachment psychology. They are offering reassurance and asking for it simultaneously. They are telling you, you're safe with me. And they are asking, are we still okay? They're not being needy. They're not being annoying. They're being, in the most precise scientific sense of the word, bonded. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just psychology. It's chemistry. In 2015, a research team led by Dr. Takefumi Kikusui at Azabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science that sent shockwaves through the field of anthrozoology, the study of human-animal relationships. They measured oxytocin levels in both dogs and their owners during various forms of interaction: play, petting, eye contact, and, critically, physical contact initiated by the dog. And what they found was this: prolonged physical contact between dogs and their owners, especially contact initiated by the dog, triggered a mutual oxytocin release. Not just in the human. In both of them. Oxytocin, if you're not familiar, is the neurochemical most associated with trust, bonding, and maternal attachment. It's what floods a new mother's brain when she holds her infant. It's what makes eye contact feel intimate. It's the biological architecture of I trust you with my vulnerability. And dogs produce it in response to us. Specifically, in response to physical contact with us. Here's what makes this extraordinary. Wolves don't show this response with humans. Cats show it minimally. This particular oxytocin feedback loop, this mutual neurochemical conversation, appears to have co-evolved specifically between domestic dogs and humans. It doesn't exist in any other human-animal pairing at the same intensity. Now think about what happens during licking specifically. It's not passive contact, like resting together. It's active contact. Rhythmic. Repetitive. Initiated. Every single lick is your dog choosing to engage. And with each one, both of your nervous systems are quietly, invisibly, updating each other, releasing tension, building trust. That tongue isn't just wet. It's communicating something your nervous system understands without a single word. So when did this start? The humans who tolerated these animals gained something. Early warning systems, help on hunts, warmth on cold nights. The wolves who stayed gained something too. Consistent food, protection, and eventually, over thousands of generations, a neurological rewiring toward human attachment. And licking was part of that process from the very first chapter. Wolves lick wounds. They lick pups. They lick the faces of pack mates returning from a hunt, gathering scent information, re-establishing social bonds. When those early proto-dogs began offering that same behavior to humans, something profound happened. Humans responded positively. And those animals were more likely to survive, more likely to reproduce, more likely to pass that behavioral tendency forward. We didn't just domesticate dogs. We selected for their desire to communicate with us. Archaeological evidence supports this. At a burial site in Oberkassel, Germany, dated to approximately 14,000 years ago, a dog was found buried alongside two humans. The animal had been sick, severely sick. Someone had kept it alive through weeks of illness that it could not have survived alone. They cared for it, and when it died, they buried it with them. These weren't just working animals. They were family. And genetic studies have since confirmed that domestic dogs carry unique mutations in genes associated with hypersociability. Genes linked, interestingly, to Williams syndrome in humans, a condition characterized by an extraordinary, almost compulsive drive towards social bonding. Your dog isn't doing something unusual when they seek out contact with you. They're doing something that has been selected for, reinforced, and refined across 15 millennia. Now, I want to tell you about a study that nobody talks about, because the finding seems almost impossible at first. Researchers examining dog licking behavior found something they genuinely didn't expect. In situations where dog licking increased significantly, owners often reported feeling more anxious, not less, at least in the short term. The licking was, in some cases, intensifying with the owner's distress rather than resolving it. Dogs were licking more precisely because their owners weren't calming down. At face value, that sounds like the behavior isn't working. But here's what the researchers realized. The dog wasn't failing. The dog was escalating effort, like a person who raises their voice not out of anger, but because they desperately need to be heard. The licking wasn't a sign of comfort delivered. It was a sign of comfort being attempted by an animal with no other language. And almost universally, owners in that same data reported something remarkable. Despite the anxiety, despite the escalation, they felt less alone. Physiologically still stressed, but not abandoned, not unseen. Maybe your dog's licking isn't always resolving your tension. Maybe sometimes it's just witnessing it. And maybe that, the act of being witnessed by a creature who has no agenda, no judgment, no ulterior motive, is doing something more ancient and more necessary than calm ever could. Maybe your dog isn't fixing your bad day. Maybe they're refusing to let you have it alone. And then there's the research that ties all of this together in a way that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. A 2023 study published in PLOS One examined heart rate variability, a measure of nervous system regulation, in dog-owner pairs during quiet, contact-based interactions. What they found was something that sounds almost too poetic to be scientific data. Dogs and their owners showed correlated heart rate variability patterns during sustained physical contact. Their nervous systems were moving in sync, rising together, settling together, responding to small environmental changes together, as if they were running on the same background program. This synchronization did not occur between dogs and unfamiliar humans. It did not occur between owners and strangers. It only appeared within bonded pairs. And licking, active, sustained, initiated contact, was one of the behaviors most associated with triggering and maintaining that synchronization. This only happens within a bond, a real one, measured in biology, not sentiment. What that means is this: when your dog licks you, especially when they do it slowly, repeatedly, without expecting anything back, they are not just expressing something emotional. They are biologically synchronizing with you. Their nervous system is reaching toward yours. And if you let it, yours reaches back. Licking isn't just a gesture. It's a neurological event. There's one last thing I need to tell you, and it might be the most important part of this video. If your dog has been a regular licker, your hand after dinner, your face in the morning, your arm when you're reading, and one day, without any obvious reason, they stop, don't brush it off. Dogs are creatures of deeply established habit. When a behavior that has been consistent for months or years disappears overnight, there is always a reason. Always. It could be environmental, a new pet in the home, a change in your schedule, a shift in household tension that they've picked up on and don't know how to navigate. It could be physical. Pain, especially in the face, jaw, or neck, is one of the earliest reasons dogs reduce contact-seeking behaviors, often long before you see limping or stiffness. They don't have the words to say it hurts when I reach up. Behavior is the only signal available to them. And in older dogs, a sudden change in social behavior, including reduced licking or contact-seeking, can be an early indicator of canine cognitive dysfunction, a form of dementia that affects an estimated 28% of dogs between 11 and 12 years old, rising to over 68% in dogs over 15. Your dog does not have language. Behavior is the only way they can tell you something is wrong. When they stop talking, pay attention. So the next time your dog climbs up next to you, at 10 p.m. or 2 a.m., or in the quiet middle of a Tuesday afternoon, and starts licking your hand with that slow, deliberate rhythm that somehow feels like more than it should, remember what's actually happening. 15,000 years of co-evolution, a neurochemical feedback loop that no other human-animal pairing shares. An attachment system sophisticated enough to read the tension in your jaw before you've consciously registered it yourself. And a nervous system so attuned to yours that given enough time and enough contact, they begin to move together. All of it pointed at one thing. They're not being excessive. They're not being weird. They're doing the most ancient, most intimate thing in their entire behavioral vocabulary. They're saying, I see you. I'm here. And you're not alone. And honestly, the science suggests it might be doing something for you too. If this changed the way you see your dog, even a little, subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below. I genuinely want to know, what does your dog do, and when do they do it? And if you want to understand why your dog stares at you without blinking, sometimes for minutes at a time, that's the next video. And what's happening behind those eyes is even stranger than you'd expect.